Breaking! Bitcoin could be on the verge of a chain split and a hard fork that could leave you in absolute poverty. BIP-110 goes live today, and if the claims are true and miners don't signal, it means Bitcoin is captured by Big Bitcoin. Your node doesn't matter, and will probably end up chained to a pipe in Larry Fink's crawl space. Or so I've been told. If you just got orange pilled this week, welcome to absolute hell. I've been up for 3 nights monitoring the situation. It's just past 4 a.m. now, and I'm losing my mind. I know you are too. 4:30 Opera Turn, a competing client in knots that began as an alternative to Core, has now went from a UASF to allegedly make Bitcoin great again to a possible hard fork and airdrop, and now a proof of work change? I was told to stay humble and stack sats, but humble left the station months ago. And what good is it to stack sats if the powers that be castrate Bitcoin as money? Are we all doomed? What the hell are we gonna do? Alright, that's it. I didn't want to have to do this, but this is what it's come to. I'm initiating the Samson option. Hope he picks up. Oh.
What the heck is this, Rustin? Do you have any idea what time it is now?
Oh yeah. Son!
Okay, calm down. Take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and I get that a lot of people are confused, but there's really nothing to worry about. So the BIP-110 supporters are likely going to fork off into their own minority chain. And there has been discussion about a proof of work change because their chain will not survive because they will inherit the difficulty of the main chain, the current chain. So they would have to either do some emergency fork to reduce difficulty or change the proof of work, or both. And that doesn't really affect the main chain. It would only affect the 110 supporters that choose to fork off. However, a lot of them have said that a proof of work change is out of the question. I think Arthur, Luke DeWolf, amongst others, have said, that's when it has gone too far and they would not make an altcoin. So there's that.
What do you mean? We don't have time for sleep right now, Samson. This is an emergency. I don't know what to do. There's a UASF chain split hard fork possible proof of work change. Possible airdrop, allegedly. I don't know what this shit is. The state of things, as I'm told, they say no soft fork has led to a chain split, and it would be unprecedented. And also, if the miners don't support or signal, it means that Bitcoin is captured by Big Bitcoin, and our nodes don't matter. We're all doomed. We're going to end up chained to a pipe in Larry Fink's crawl space or something. For the people out there, and the differently abled like myself, just trying to grasp what the hell is going on. Well, what the hell is going on, and what should we do?
Actually, before we move on, we should touch upon what you mentioned earlier, that your node doesn't matter if the miners don't signal for 110. The thing is, a lot of people misunderstand what their node is for and what it does. So some of the frustration is they feel their node is data storage, and they're being forced to store data that they don't want to on their node. But your node is not data storage. It is also not a vote. Your node is a way for you as a sovereign individual to get an accurate view of the Bitcoin network, for you to transact on the network, monitor transactions, yours going out, transactions coming in, etc., etc. So it is your own node, and it is not a way to govern the network. You can't tell miners what to do. Miners can also run their own nodes. If you think about this logically for a second here, you buy a node from one of the node-in-a-box manufacturers. Why does that give you a say over a miner that invested $1 million into energy and hardware and equipment, transformers, buildings, containers, you name it? That doesn't make any sense at all. Your node is for you to protect yourself, to validate for yourself. And you run that node because of your own self-interest. A miner can run a node too because of their own self-interest and an exchange and a wallet like Aqua, etc., etc. So you see where this is going, right? You run a node because of your own economic interest, whether you're a pleb, a business, or whatever. A node doesn't give you a say in the network. So if a miner doesn't follow what you suggest they do, like run BIP-110, it's neither here nor there. It's just they decided not to follow it. It has nothing to do with you and no bearing on you, just like your software in your node has no bearing on them. Where it actually matters is if you have a mass of economic nodes that want something and or want to change, and that's when a node matters, if you're with the economic majority and with consensus. But that's not what we're seeing right now with 110. It's a very small group of people that are trying to run nodes and force something onto the network that the network does not want. And that's why you only see 1 to 2% of hash rate supporting it.
Well, that kind of sounds like a clear, rational response that would get you labeled a big Bitcoin shill that got the call. And that gets to my next point. The same age-old, like, commie manifesto tactics, political tactics, used to smear opponents. It's running rampant. I thought we were supposed to get away from this stuff. It's like a mass psychosis. I mean, there are great people on both sides of the thing. You're in an interesting position. You're kind of like George Washington. I mean, he had Hamilton and Jefferson. They hated each other, fierce opponents, main advisors. You got an insane duo in Nick Szabo and Adam Back, opposite sides of the argument, both legends in their own rights. But what have you learned from them through all this? And how have they helped you navigate and get the full picture of both sides? Because that's important. Not like whether, but you got to understand the arguments, right? And how did that get you to the place you are now?
Mass formation psychosis is definitely something here right now. But I would say there's a bit of a misunderstanding. So Nick was supporting people running knots, and he was against spam, which I also am. You think if you want to run knots, you should run knots. And I also think there should be initiatives to fight spam. But then knots sort of blended into 110, and people are saying he supports BIP-110. And I don't think you can find any evidence of that. He hasn't been on X for months now, I think. So there's no way he can support BIP-110, which is kind of merged with the knots movement, which is kind of unfortunate in my view for a number of reasons. But I don't think you can say I really learned from anybody. I reasoned from first principles, just like a lot of people did, that BIP-110 is a bad idea, a bad proposal, and a bad BIP. And that's pretty much it. There's not that much to it. It's not a really complex topic that changing Bitcoin's consensus rules willy-nilly with a very small group of people is a bad idea. Lowering the activation threshold for a soft fork, hard fork doesn't really matter, to 55% is a bad idea. Not having a plan for what happens after this thing activates is a bad idea. A temporary soft fork is probably a bad idea too, because nothing is more permanent than a temporary program. But the biggest question is what happens after this temporary thing is forced on the network, on all of us. Who decides what happens after that? Is it that same group of small people again that gets to decide that temporary measures didn't suffice and we're going to do another temporary soft fork for another year? It definitely reminds me a lot of COVID, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then another 2 weeks, and then, years go by.
Whew, okay. I think I'm mentally prepared now, getting a little into the game theory, adversarial thinking. Lay it on me, Samson. Don't pull any punches. How could this all play out? Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let me think. Well, I believe it's just going to be a big nothing burger, a really big, juicy nothing burger. Because nobody really cares about BIP-110 outside of this small echo chamber that is thinking that it's somehow going to activate. I don't see any exchanges. I'm in touch with a number of exchanges and nothing, no one cares about it. There is even no chain split market, which actually did exist during the block size wars. Miners don't really seem to care. Wallets don't seem to care. We're not doing anything at Jan 3 and with Aqua. There's nothing to do. Yeah, basically every group I'm in just kind of doesn't care. So I don't really see anything happening. The ugly would probably be that the 110 guys make their own altcoin. I think that's pretty ugly. They are Bitcoiners. There are real people there. I don't believe all the nodes signaling for 110 are real, but there are real people that support BIP-110. And I think it's very sad that Bitcoiners go and make an altcoin. And that's always been the case. Bcash as well. Yeah, the bad, I don't know. There's nothing really bad that people get a healthy dose of reality and understand how Bitcoin works. They understand where their node sits in the hierarchy of things, and maybe they'll relax a bit, and we can all go back to life and stop arguing about nonsensical things. Yeah.
Okay, kind of looking at it, there have been some historical cases where things have flipped on a dime, like SegWit, right? Over a couple weeks and months that made your flip at the end. What I don't know is if like the incentives or the BIP's slightly kind of coercive measures may push support over time. Or if it's like some say, dead on arrival. I see both. I see data being presented like, yeah, saying, of course, well on the way. And then, of course, others saying complete nothing burger. Both the takes, they're flooding the zone, they're everywhere, along with a lot of emotion. What is the reality? Do you see there being a positive outcome if BIP-110 is successful?
When you say that SegWit and activation flipped on a dime, you're talking about signaling going from 30% to 50% to 100% after BIP-91. And the key point there is SegWit was, it had like a year almost of 30% support. I was running a mining pool back then, BTC China or BTCC pool, and we were one of the ones signaling along with a few others. So there was like a baseline of 30% of hash rate supporting, and hash rate can't really be faked. It is real. Now, whether there is an intention to follow through on the signaling is a different question, which I think also is lost upon a lot of the 110 supporters. But the fact is, you had a lot of hash rate, a lot of economic power behind SegWit, and there is nothing like that behind BIP-110. So I don't see it being successful. If in some universe it was successful, I think that is a bad thing because it sets a very, very bad precedent that Bitcoin consensus rules can be changed. Bitcoin is not a neutral network. You can censor certain types of paying valid transactions, and you can have people deciding that we need to quote unquote upgrade to do certain things to force some transactions off the network, which I'm sure you can realize the problem. You can have a nation state coming to devs saying, we want to censor all Simply Bitcoin transactions going forward. And that's not really good. And Saylor touched on this too. It makes Bitcoin not neutral anymore. And neutral money is incredibly valuable. And I think this is why we're here. We want neutral, permissionless bearer money. And while we don't like spam, I think spam is a nuisance if it's paying fees and it follows network rules. And I guess the other big difference historically is that SegWit was an actual upgrade. It fixed a bug, malleability, and it enabled Lightning, which everyone wanted. We wanted to use Bitcoin as cash. We wanted to be able to spend and have this. Whereas BIP-110 does absolutely nothing. If you go back and you think about why we're here, BIP-110 was supposed to prevent spam, but it doesn't do that. There are tons of ways to embed data in BIP-110 compliant transactions and blocks. So if it doesn't even stop spam, then why are we here? And I think the answer is we have to send a message. But that's great. You sent a message, and maybe, that's success. But that's pretty much all you're doing by forking off the network or creating a minority chain.
I don't know if I just had an epiphany or I shit myself. But Samson, before you go, how do the plebs prepare and make sure they get the airdropsies and they don't sell or lose their coin accidentally? I'm asking for a friend.
Well, I would say don't try to get an airdrop. Don't play with like people that are offering to buy BIP-110 coins. There are a lot of nasty tricks that can be done to steal your actual real Bitcoin. So don't be tempted by the airdrop if there is an airdrop, if the chain survives, which I don't think it will. And yeah, just stay safe. There are enough problems out there, enough security issues. There's the cold card tragedy. There's no need to do anything now and put your funds at risk or put your Bitcoin at risk. So just don't be tempted by any potential airdrop coins. So Rustin, I hope that was helpful. Get some sleep, touch some grass, and don't ever call me at 4:20 a.m. again.
Holy shit, he's right. My bags have bags. I look like hell. All right, now before we bring it home today, any questions about today and how you can run a node and be sovereign and how to protect your generational wealth during arguably the most insane time in Bitcoin's history? You're going to want to visit our friends over at the Bitcoin Way. Hardware wallet, your own node, full on-chain verification. They walk you through every step until you mastered it. Plus, privacy phones, Plan B residency, the whole sovereignty stack. Schedule your free 30-minute consultation today by scanning that QR on screen or click the link in the description. Do it today, not next week. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in mad times. The attacks are coming from all angles and we can lose sight of the big picture. And don't let fear and emotion drive you into things. And don't forget the first rule, be humble. Bitcoin can't survive without me mentality is not humble. And attacking people who don't agree with you like commies serves no one. And none of you are going to get me to hate Samson. None of you are going to get me to hate Luke or Crater or Michael Saylor for that matter. Ludwig von Mises wrote an essay back in the day. Very relevant at the moment and to our time. Not just in Bitcoin, but like society as a whole. It's called The Anti-Capitalistic Mentality. You can read it in a few hours. It'll blow your mind. Something from Max Kaiser. Code martyrs gonna code martyr. It's kind of their job. And on the other side of it all, the hardest money ever created or discovered becomes stronger. And let's take a look at this, just so you have an idea of what it is. An investigation into the psychological roots of the anti-capitalistic stance that is widespread in the general populations of the capitalist world. Von Mises suggests various reasons for this mentality, primarily his claim that free competition in the market economy allows no excuses of one's failures. Rather, he argues it creates great incentive for one's desire for improvement and greater effort to succeed, as well as a greater reward for that success. Don't go chasing waterfalls or airdrops. Stay humble and stack sats. And sometimes life happens. Things can, cost of living, all of it. Then we may need to access liquidity and may need to do so using a small portion of our stacks. And I am, was, is, and remain skeptical of Bitcoin-backed loans. The first thing that comes to mind, rocket ship, get on board. My BlockFi bros. But Ledn isn't like those shitcoin loan platforms. And unlike Cold Card, their record is 8 years, 10 billion in loans issued with a B, like B for a boy, 0 customer Bitcoin lost, and 0 lent out, 0 rehypothecated. You can set up auto top-up protection so you never get liquidated, lowest rates in the market, no fine print. Me personally, I have a couple friends who have used Ledn just the past year to help make down payments on their homes. They didn't sell a single set and they didn't create a taxable event. And they just use a small portion of their stack as collateral. Pretty awesome. Keep your stack, get cash, repay whenever you want, no penalties. That's the That's the opposite of the treasury structures that blow up the moment the market sneezes. Scan the QR code, click the link in the show notes, head to ledn.io today. Back to it. Now, speaking of low entropy, destroying people's stacks, if you own Bitcoin, the next question is, how do you protect it? That's where BitKey comes in. BitKey is a self-custody hardware wallet built to help you own Bitcoin with more control, more confidence. It combines the BitKey app, BitKey hardware, and built-in recovery tools, so you're not relying on one password, one device, or one fragile backup. If Bitcoin is part of your long-term plan, BitKey is worth a look. For a lot of people, the hardest part of self-custody is the seed phrase. Write down the words, hide them somewhere, hope nothing goes wrong. But if someone finds it, gone. And if you lose it, gone. Low entropy, gone. That's the model this whole episode just broke. BitKey doesn't use a seed phrase. Lose your phone, you have a path back. Replace your device, still covered. That's the whole point. Download BitKey today. Use promo code SENDIT to get 10% off the new BitKey. And this episode has been sponsored by BitKey. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I wanted to do a show with Samson for a long time. Thanks again, brother. The dude's probably playing Corn Blind at 4 a.m. You saw those guitars hanging up. Are you ready? I wish it was under more bullish circumstances, but hopefully the first of many surprises coming your way. Hope you not only had some laughs, but got informed today. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp. Share the Sound Money Gospel and go touch some grass. I'm going to do the same, then I'm going to take a nap. Clown world is f***ing exhausting. Hey, have a great weekend. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.